Okay, so the Oracle database comprises of physical file structure, contains of various background processes and Oracle memory. So we will now understand the physical file structure of an Oracle database. The Oracle database comprises of data files, control file and redo log file. Let's understand what is a data file. Data file is the location where your data is stored. So if I query a table like select file name table space name from db underscore data files, it displays me the name of the file and the table space name. So for example, here you see users table space is having the following data file. Now if I go through the operating system and try to open this particular data file, I won't be able to access the data. That is the sort of security which Oracle database provides. The data file which exists here in this particular location is an Oracle proprietary format. So now a default database has the following table spaces like unto table spaces, sysaux table spaces, system table spaces. Now the system table space is a very important table space, and if this table space is removed, your database won't start. So now you understood that you can query your dba underscore data files and see the location of your data files. You understood what is a data file, how a table space is linked to a particular data file too. Now what can happen is you can create a table and table space. You can create a table space connected to a particular user and add data in it, and those data will all be stored in a data file. So for example, let me create a table space. Now you see here I am creating a table space called xyz, and its respective data file is data test.dbf. I also mentioned its size. You see here, so now at this particular location a data file is created. Now if I need to add data into this particular data file, what I do is I create a user and have its default table space as xyz. Let me show you an example of that. see, by this method, what happened is I created a data file called data test, which was linked to XYZ table space, and I created a user who was having that particular file as a default data file. I created a table. This table is actually created for XYZ data file, and the data is inserted in that data file. Now you see, table space is an example of logical table space. While data file here, this particular data file, which actually exists in this particular location, is a example of physical data file. So let me show you how the data file looks like. This is in Windows, and you see here the file is created, that particular data file. But if I go open an editor and try to open this file or read this file, I won't be able to do that. Why? Because it's in an Oracle proprietary format. Now we will understand about what is a control file. So control file is the most important file of a database, and to look at the location of the control file, we will query v $control file dictionary table. I'll show you an example of it now. You see, this is an example on how you can see the location of your control file. The data is stored in v $control file table. The control file is the most important file of the database because the control file contains the information about the database. It's like a license plate, which means whatever happens in the database, what is the last activity which happened in the database, everything is mentioned in the control file. It contains internally, this file contains information about the location of the data file. This contains the location of the data file, location of the redo log file, the last time when the backup was done, when the database was shut down, and if by chance, like after the database was shut down and you went to the data file, tried to change the data file, when you start the database, control file is the file which will contain the actual data about this particular data file, and if there was a change, it will be immediately be detected and the database won't start. So now you understand the importance of control file. Next important file which we got here is the redo log file. What is redo log file? What does redo log file contain? The redo log file contains redo related data. For example, when you go in here into you go in as a user and you do a transaction, like for example when I did a transaction like insert into test this particular table, a redo data is created and that redo data is stored in redo buffer. Now for if the redo buffer is 1/3 filled, or whenever there is a commit, or if the redo buffer is 1/3 100 MB, more than 100 MB, then the contents from the redo buffer goes to the redo log file, and the contents in the redo buffer are normally the redo related data, which means like when I inserted this data this data in the table, how that information, that transaction related information, is stored in the redo buffer, and that entry is stored in the redo log file. And to know the location of the redo log file, you can query the following table. So you saw how you can see the location of the log file.